Hi, Jarlath here again with your week 3 roundup video. Well done for another good week. Hard to believe, but you're actually halfway through the course now. Um, once the assignments and things catch up with the week lag. Your assignments, great work. Some really strong work, and very interesting to hear a bit more about your business concepts. Some of which are way beyond being a concept, so that's great. Individual feedback coming your way as always. The grades and feedback are released tomorrow. So you will see the way that the course builds, and you'll be getting used to that by now. And in some places, the feedback provided can really help for future modules, as well as obviously the reality of your businesses. So please do note that feedback and take it on board. Get into the habit of doing that. It does become it becomes important, and you actually get marks on whether you've taken that feedback on later on in the course and in some of the modules. So do be careful with that, please. And hopefully it's very valuable. It should be valuable to you to see that feedback. I also want to continue my encouragement to stay on top of the forums and remind you that marks are awarded for engagement in the forums, for making at least 2 comments in there. The first forum was engaged with much earlier actually, and then obviously there's 2 forums this week. And the second one, it was very quiet until a couple of days ago. But well done for getting there, and I'll come on and talk. I'll talk to that in a minute. I've left this video as kind of as late as possible because I am going to share the answers to the second one. So to give you the chance to contribute and see what your own thoughts are before I share the textbook, as it were. And yeah, given that I'm posting this now, please do follow up with any questions on that whenever I share it. Okay, so there's 2 discussion forums. First one on the VC valuation method and considering whether Clique, Shift, or Pepper are appropriate. Yeah, really good engagement on there and different ways of expressing those opinions, and pros and cons of each of the 3 explored. Paul has provided some feedback, so it doesn't really need me to repeat that here. I will just add to that that there was some discussion as to which of the 3 was likely to gain VC funding, and that is a subtly different question, subtle but important difference to the question of where the VC valuation method is most appropriate. So that and whether they're actually going to go ahead and get the funding are separate questions. So just bear that in mind. And I suppose a fairly obvious point to raise that the valuation is rarely a place where the investor and the entrepreneur instantly agree. So that's also something that comes through. The second one was on ownership in multi-stage financing. Good discussion here. A little bit of disagreement as to how much they'd have to pay to maintain their ownership, with at least 3 different sets of answers. That's normal. That's usually what we get. So don't worry about that. There's some complexity here built in, which I think Victor actually picked up on very early, and a couple of people seem to agree with that, but then some different answers as well. So in the scenario, the VC is going to purchase 21% for 5 million. So that gives the valuation of 23.8 million, which will not change. Okay, so that's your fixed at that stage. So some of the calculations appear to assume that more shares could be bought at the same price without that affecting the valuation or the number of shares. So the reality would be that for investor A to maintain their 30% stake, there must be more shares issued. And since the overall valuation is fixed, that means the price per share will drop. Okay, then there's another layer of complexity, which is, well, what's best for investor A also to an extent depends what investor B is doing. Again, because of that factor of more shares are being issued in order to maintain their stake. So what you see is that in order for investor A to maintain their 30%, they need to spend a further 2.15 million. However, in doing so, that only raises the value of their share by 1.5 million, and therefore not likely to represent a good move. I have attached a spreadsheet here, and you will see the same figures as Victor and others came up with, which is that's different with investor B in there as well. So investor B also maintaining their share, then investor A has to do 2.5 million, and investor B 0.83 million. So it depends, and actually, if investor A has already invested, investor B should not. Whereas if investor A hasn't, investor B probably should actually. So lots of variables there. Not to worry about getting the absolute specifics right first time, but do have a look, have a play, and you can see what happens if you change one of them, both of them. So next week we have a look at developing a pitch deck. So that's a great opportunity to create your first deck for some of you, I think, and for others certainly. I don't think that will be the first deck. So to refresh that, keep an eye on the infographic at the start of each module too. It kind of guides you through where we are on the journey. And like I said, other than the lag with getting your assignments back, we're now halfway through. So keep up the great work, keep the momentum going, keep the energy high, and the engagement high. And yeah, final points to use the meetup forum at the bottom of the sidebar or private group chat options. So we know that you want the opportunity to interact. And we do have that again a little bit later in a couple of weeks, the opportunity to actually come together and do that. But feel free to reach out to each other even more than you are doing in the forums, and establish those connections. Well done, everyone. Keep up the great work, and remember to reach out to Paul or myself if there's anything we can help with. See you soon.